Hello, I'm John McAllister, and welcome to the John McAllister Report. Today, getting away from football, getting away from all sports, and in this segment is about Upper Sandusky, my hometown. I think it's so important to do as much as I can to help promote people from or in Upper Sandusky. I love the town. Grew up here. I love living here. Today, my guest is a junior in high school, graduates in 2025. He's a basketball player, but right now he's just coming off of a third place finish at the Ohio High School Athletic Association State Golf Tournament. Brock finished with a third tie for third, and I think he might have been 5 strokes back, but in Division II. And he will explain all those things later. And we also, I'm a mind guy. I like to know what makes athletes, what makes them go. And he spent some time talking about just how he approaches the golf game, how he approaches competition, what he does to make himself better. And quite a good young man. Brock Montgomery was impressive. Talking to him before, and I think you're going to really like this interview. So if you just kind of sit back and enjoy my video podcast with Upper Sandusky's Brock Montgomery. Like I said earlier, today my guest is Brock Montgomery. He's a local Upper Sandusky guy, and I think it's so important that he finished third in the OHSAA State Golf Tournament. I watched him as a freshman, so anytime you can continue to get better and better and do that, that's pretty good. Brock, how are you?
I'm doing good. Just
doing good?
Enjoying life.
Doing less. Now, will you play golf before? Are you going to keep playing? Basketball starts pretty soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, getting this time of the year, it's about time to put the clubs away and get focused on basketball.
That's good. That makes a lot of sense. And I think sometimes high school athletes overdo it. They practice too much, I think.
Yeah.
Or play too much. You got to get away. Do something different. Okay, let's talk quickly first about your state championship. Okay, let me ask you, you can read it here. Let me put it on here real fast. Okay, this is what you did. You got that orange. See that orange and black? That orange color. But you finished tied for third place. And is that Division 1 or 2? How does that work?
We're Division 2 at Upper. So in golf, there's 3 divisions, and Division 2 and Division 3 are on the same weekend, and Division 1's the weekend after us. So.
Oh, okay. That's really good. But I saw some of those schools. That's pretty good competition, though.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely got to go out there and play. You got to earn it.
Good. You finished third. Okay. Last year, not so good.
No, last year was a little bit of disappointment just because I was so close to going to state, and this year that was a big goal.
That's really good. But I hate to say this, but you're only a sophomore. So going into Friday, what was your whole attitude like?
It was mainly, I knew there was going to be a lot of people there. It was kind of just go out there, enjoy the atmosphere, talk to all the supporters, and just kind of let the golf take care of itself.
Is that right? So you're pretty relaxed before you play then, huh?
Yeah. Actually, I had the mentality like the hard work was over. The hard work was getting to state. So now just go out there, whether I get 70th or whether I get third. I'm done either way.
Don't tell me that, because that's not what I think of you. Okay, I will explain that in a minute. Well, let me explain it right now. I saw you play basketball as a freshman. I go out to maybe 2 or 3 games a year for something to do. And in that game, you played varsity. In that game, you played harder than anybody on our Upper Sandusky's team. And I said, wow, now this is what I do for football. I mean, I watch guys, and I thought that was so impressive that you did that. You played as hard or harder than anybody on the team. And I thought that was really neat for a freshman. So don't tell me you went down there and said, I don't care if I got 70 or I got first. I don't think that, man. I don't think that of you when it comes crunch time. Okay. Tell me about the first round.
So the first round was a bit of a struggle. I mean, just the first 2 holes, it got off to a good start, and I was just excited to get the wheels moving, just get my feet under me. And then all of a sudden on the 3rd hole, I hit a ball like 5 yards, and I haven't done that since I was 10 years old. I don't know what happened. So it went 5 yards and into the water right off the tee. So I was like, okay, well, this isn't ideal. So I had to regroup, walked out of there with double bogey on a par 5, which normally isn't very common for me.
Right.
And so I was 2 over through 3 holes. And then the next hole is like a 170-yard par 3. And it was super windy that day back into our face. So I actually clubbed up one where I hit 6-iron when it normally be like a 7-iron.
Right.
I hit 6-iron and it flew all the way over the green. And Coach Treadwell and I were a little confused as to how that just didn't touch the wind. Yeah. So I ended up making double there too. So I went from even through 2 to 4 over through 4. Yeah. So all of a sudden I was like, okay, we need to settle down, just calm down and just let the golf take care of itself. And again, I got through the front 9, and then the back 9, the wheels started to come off again. I was through 14 holes. I was 9 over maybe. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't unfamiliar territory. I haven't been 9 over in quite some time. So I had I had a talk with Coach Treadway, and I was like, I haven't quite shot myself out of it, but we need to just finish the last 4 holes strong. And I played the last 4 at 2 under. So really those last 4 holes got a lot of momentum going heading into Saturday.
Okay. So heading into Saturday, what was your mindset?
Oh yeah. So
be honest.
I tried to have the same mindset as I did on Friday, even though it kind of bit me in the butt a little bit, but it was more just kind of go out there. It's a new day. The weather wasn't ideal. It was a little rainy and it was foggy as well. I knew everybody had to play the same circumstances. So no one really had an advantage. And I knew that I belonged in those top 5 golfers. And I mean, I went out there, had 16 pars, a bogey and a birdie, and the rest was history.
That's really good. That's congratulations, by the way. I think that's really neat. And like I said, I'm more into the mindset. Here's my golfing ability. I haven't played for a few years, but I go out to Lincoln Hills. Mm-hmm. I may get a par on that first hole. I may get a bogey. Number 2 is hard for me.
Yeah.
Or probably a bogey. And then I get lucky and hit a par on 3. And then 4, I'm pretty good. So I'm being bad, okay? I'm being bad. So I finish up with maybe 7, 8, 9. I think I'm all bad and I'm terrible. So that's my golf game, all right?
Yeah.
Well, here's one more thing I would tell you. And I talked about mental part of it, and I was giving you a little hard time. I got to go to my son who's at Kent got me tickets to they didn't call it the World Series, but this was Firestone. They called it something after the World Series, I think, for a few years. I mean, they're all there, all the guys. So what I do, I don't care about them watching them putt. I got up on, I think it was 15, and I'm honestly where they drive. I think it might be a par 5 through that 16. Mm-hmm. It's in there someplace, and I got to watch every golfer come through.
Yep, and 16 actually. 16 is a par 5. There's water just right of the green.
Okay, that's where I was on 16. Yeah, and I stood there the whole time. Tiger brought his group, and I said, I ain't moving, man.
Yeah,
I'm on the ropes right there. But it was amazing to me, and maybe you can. I really think you have that. You have to. Those guys are so focused. I mean, they didn't joke around. They didn't talk. They just come up, stood, and hit. I mean, it was amazing how that mindset that they have. I mean,
Yeah.
I could reach out and touch them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I was just gonna add, I mean, especially Tiger, he's kind of in his own dimension, but all those guys are like that. And I think that's what just makes them so good. That's what makes them on the professional tour. So I guess I kind of use them as a little bit of an example. Like, yeah, I need to go out there and focus, but at the same time, they're playing for way higher standards than I am. So I think part of it, I go out there and just be focused, but at the same point, I'm trying to go out there and just have some fun and enjoy the experience.
Okay. Okay. But I bet you're focused pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
You can give me that. I'm going to cut some of this. But you can give me that stuff, man. Where did it all start, Brock? Where did you start playing golf?
Oh, it started at a young age. I mean, my dad played college baseball at Ashland. So swinging a bat, obviously, after his baseball days were over, he got into golf and he's just really athletic. So I think that helped a little bit. And over time, he got really good. And then my older brother, Brett, he's 5 years older than me. He picked it up at the age of 3, and we live in Harpster area. So back in the day, Hickory was around.
Right.
We go out there and beat some balls around. And I mean, I got the bug probably 4 or 5 years old, and I played some other sports growing up. I played baseball and soccer and basketball, obviously, but I knew golf deep down was my true love.
Okay. So that's pretty early. It's pretty
Yeah.
early hitting golf balls and stuff. I think that's amazing. So did you have any coach besides, like, your dad helped your coach? Anybody else you work with, any kind of pro or anything like that at all to find?
Yeah, my brother and I have seen Steve McCahey in Lima. He's the pro at Lima Shawnee, and he played on many tours in the PGA when he was growing up. So I think that just having another set of eyes and another guy that knows what he's doing, I think that's really, really big.
That's really good. By the way, I think he played for Coach Gerfin, but I think your dad played baseball for Coach Gerfin, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was the head football coach there back in the 70s.
Okay. Yeah.
Before your dad was born, I think. But I was a football coach, so, and I know that both your dad and your uncle played, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And went to Irish. Okay. That's good. Small world. World.
It's crazy.
Okay. We talked about where it started, who had helped you. Have you ever talked or played with Emily Bostel?
You know what?
Bostel now, but the golf coach at Florida. Have you ever played with her?
I actually have not. I mean, I've talked to Dave and Deb quite a bit, and I've talked to Ben even, but I've never came in contact with her.
Okay. I just wondered. She seems amazing. You know, she's done so well. You know, I mean, she's a heck of a golf coach and whatever, recruiting and everything else. Do you ever play with anger?
Don't
make that out of control. Do you ever play with tough anger, like where you just got to bite the bullet and go?
I definitely do. Especially, I play quite a bit of summer tournaments, just again to get recruited to play college golf. But in those tournaments, I'm the underdog. I mean, it sounds crazy, but in those tournaments, I get 30th and 40th, and every once in a while, I'll sneak like a 10th place in there. But when I get 10th, I definitely have a little bit of fire under me just to go out there and show those kids from Cincinnati and Columbus and Cleveland, kind of like, hey, like, I'm from the middle of nowhere, but I can hang with you guys too.
I'm glad you said that, because I really think that's what it takes. and I'm hoping you would say that. That's really good. You know, I tell football players all the time, some of you have to play with a chip on your shoulder all the time. Now, it doesn't have to be a cement block, but it's got to be you got to play with a little chip on your shoulder. And it sounds like you do a little bit. Summer golf is important, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think, again, like I mentioned earlier, I think just going out there and not even winning. It sounds dumb, but I think getting beat multiple times is really big just to grow as a person and a golfer. It kind of makes you realize like, hey, like during this high school stuff, when I win, I almost take it for granted.
That's good. That's good to a certain extent. But I
Yeah.
think that's, yeah. And I also want to plug you. Every time I read about you, you're always saying something positive about the Upper Sandusky schools, the fans, or whatever you would call fans, the students, and the community. And I think that's really huge. Do you believe that, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I really witnessed it this year when I was on my way to state. I mean, I walked through the hallways at school and there was nothing but good lucks, and that meant the world to me just because like those kids I see every single day probably, I mean, to be honest, they probably don't, golf doesn't really affect their lives, but just knowing like wishing success on one of their classmates is super big.
That's good. Brock, let's talk. Let me give you some silly questions, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, no, no, one more serious one. What advice would you give to a golfer just starting? A 6-year-old. What are you going to tell a 6-year-old's parents?
I think I mean, golf, it's one of those things that you will never master it. You can be, Tiger Woods hasn't even mastered the game
No.
yet. And I think the biggest thing that parents and kids need to realize is like, hey, like you can't give up. You got to just hang in there through even the tough times. Like there's times where I play and it's like, man, this just isn't fun today. But the next day I'm going to go out there and try even harder just to go out there and play the best to my abilities. And I think that's huge to tell the parents like, hey, this kid's gonna struggle first, but that's what it takes.
I totally agree with you. How about high school? We got to tell high school your players and on your team. What do you tell them about golf?
I tell those kids like, hey, let's just go out there and have some fun. I mean, most of the kids on the golf team, yeah, they're taking it serious, but it's one of those things where every day at practice, we're just out there having fun, putting and chipping, hitting on the range, just to go out there and just, it's part of the experience. Playing golf and going to nice golf courses is what most kids play.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for it either, do you?
That's right.
Just kidding you. I'm kidding. Well, I just text Coach Fickle at Wisconsin's a good friend of mine. And I text him Sunday morning about the victory. You know, they came from behind and beat Illinois. And he sent me a text back, and his last comment was, you know, John, winning is hard. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I certainly do. I mean, like
He
I
said
mentioned
winning
earlier,
is hard.
like I mentioned earlier, I sometimes take winning in high school for granted, and then I go out in these summer tournaments and get lapped. But I think that's just part of the experience, because when I do win, it makes it that much sweeter.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. You know that. That's really good. What's your favorite golf club in your bag? One.
I'd have to go with it's hard to beat my 2-iron.
2-iron.
Yeah, I love that thing.
Why do you love that thing?
It's one of those clubs, like say my driver's not working that day, I can step up on the tee and I know exactly where it's going.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Any rituals or superstitions before you play golf?
Oh, I don't
Anything?
think s I think when if I have eggs for breakfast on a day and then I go out and play well, I'm certainly gonna have eggs the next day. It
Okay,
kinda sounds funny, but I do that quite a bit.
that's good. Ideal foursome. You and what other 3 golfers? I mean, we're talking pros regardless. Alive or dead?
Oh,
Who would it be? Your foursome.
I mean, I'd have to say sorry to my dad and brother, but I'm gonna have to take Max Homa, myself, obviously,
No, you
Tiger
stop.
Woods, and oh, I'd like to throw in Steph Curry.
Because you play basketball and you'd be messing with them, right?
That's
Basketball.
right.
Who was this? It was Who was the second one?
Max Homa.
No, the next one.
So it was Max Homa, myself, obviously, Tiger Woods, and Steph Curry.
Okay. That's a good foursome.
That's right.
Okay.
I think we could have a lot of fun.
Okay. Now, two more questions, and not really silly questions here. Let's see. 20 minutes. We're doing well. Okay. What do you think's the most important aspect of your game? We've talked about it. What's the most important aspect of your game, Brock?
I think the most important aspect is my short game. Just for those days where I'm not hitting it very good and I miss the green, I think it's huge to get up and down or give myself the best chance to get up and down and salvage my par.
Okay. Do you believe that practice makes perfect in golf?
I think that's day to day. Some days I have good practices where I'm hitting it really good and I feel super confident. And then the next day I could be hitting it awful and it's like, I don't know why I play this game. But as a whole, I think just practicing to the best of your capabilities. And I think it's more repetition, just going out there, not even every day, but maybe 4 or 5 days a week, just going out there and just swinging the golf club and getting used to those motions.
Okay. That's really good. Well, Brock, I really appreciate you taking time here. I know that you're in between sports and things like that, but I think it's really, really good. And I love competition. I love competitors. I'm 75 years old, but I still think. Tell me, good year next year, really good year next year. Is golf, college golf? Is that on the horizon someplace?
Oh yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I've been in contacts with some major D1 coaches, and yeah, that feels really good. But at the same time, I still have that chip on my shoulder to go out there and prove myself because I'm not even close to my capabilities yet.
That's really good. Now remember, you don't want to cement block. That'll mess you up because that's too hard to carry.
That's
If
right.
you put a brick up there, you got that brick. That's a chip, and then you can carry that.
That's right.
Thank you again. Thank you very, very much. And I'm sure Upper Sandusky is very proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time and thank you for reaching out.